All right, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to do a couple amendments to the agenda this evening before we get started, so that folks don't have to wait through the old business. We're going to go ahead and start with our new business with the rezoning hearing and the building permit ordinance and solar fees. And we also want to amend at the the next meeting will be September 28th, and on our agenda right now, it reads July 27th. Oh, sure. We'll do the rezoning after we approve our minutes. So can I get approval of the amended agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I have, in our email that we received the, March 20th minutes and or should we do them separate? We're in that email. Do I have a motion to approve that set of minutes for March 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then there was also from May 18th, minutes to approve. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're gonna head right into new business. So I'd like to open the hearing for rezoning, a rezoning hearing for LAP Chris Loehmer for consolidating recycling and waste handling operations.
So Lab Recycling has submitted an application for a map amendment, which is a rezoning of the parcel at 4815 East 600 North in Monterey, Indiana. You do have the documents that show the parcel and the GIS mapping of this. Presently, that acreage is 8 acres. They did acquire the land around it to meet for the heavy industrial, or the A2 rather, I'm sorry, A2 zoning, 40 acres requirement. They did submit notices to the neighboring property owners, and they sent those to the 2,640 feet. And then they also had notice published in the journal. And so you have maps, you have site plans, you have their business plan and all the documents in front of you that had also been emailed to you, and items that have been discussed. Presently, there is work being done at a couple other parcels within Pulaski County that, to my understanding, would cease work at those properties or else put them in compliance because they are in violation of our ordinance on those parcels. And we've talked, violations have been submitted to them in regards to work that is not A1 zone work there. So that's been discussed in regards to, with the potential rezoning of this parcel, moving the facilities to make that parcel in compliance. When notices were submitted, as you are all aware, it allows the public to call in or come in and look at documentation. And we haven't had anybody come into the office or talk to us or call us in regards to their notice being submitted. So, do you have any questions? And then give them
Sure.
we'll give them the opportunity to open up for both of your guys' questions.
I think that would probably maybe answer some of our questions we may have, is if you take your 15 minutes and share with us where everything stands.
And that's also this packet as well as that with the paperclip packet, which is also going to be presented.
Good evening. My name is Brian Munch. I'm Munch Engineering. Office is located at 4000 Clark Creek Road, Plainfield, Indiana. And I've been engaged by Chris and Loehmer to help them move forward with a recycling project on the property on 600 North. With me in attendance tonight is Chris and Honey. I think Honey would start with an opening comment on who flat recycling is.
I just wanted to start out with, thank you guys for this opportunity. When we think about why we started LEC and why we continue working so hard to grow it, our answer is not simply business. Our why is our family, our employees, our community, and the opportunities we can create. This community is our home. It is where we have raised our children, and today our children are part of the company we have built. They have witnessed the long days, the late nights, sacrifices, and determination it has taken to get us where we are today. We are not only building a business, we are building a future for our family and hopefully something meaningful that will remain in the community for generations. We could have chosen to build our business somewhere else, but this is our home and our community. We live here, work here, raise our families here, and truly care about what happens here. LEP Waste has been in business for approximately 5 years, and we have been incredibly blessed by how much it has grown. Today, we employ approximately 100 people. But to us, that number means much more than 100 employees. It represents people with families, homes, bills, hopes, and dreams for their futures. They depend on LEP for financial stability and the ability to provide for the people they love. We are proud to offer full-time, year-round employment, opportunities for overtime, and employee benefits. We take the responsibility to heart because the decisions we make do not affect only our family, they affect approximately 100 other families as well. To us, growth is not simply about adding trucks, containers, customers, or property. True, growth is about people and opportunities we can create for them. We want LEP Waste to be a place where people are given a chance to succeed, learn new skills, advance within the company, and build their lives for their families. When LEP Waste grows, we can create more local jobs, support other local businesses, contribute more to our local economy, expand recycling opportunities, and provide dependable waste services. When LEP Waste succeeds, we want the success to reach beyond our company and benefit the entire community. We also want to protect the place we call home through responsible waste management and expanded recycling opportunities. We can help keep our county clean and make it a better place for our children and grandchildren. Our why is bigger than our company. It is about building something meaningful and lasting for our children, our employees and their families, and the community we are so proud to call home. We are proud of what we have built, but we are even more excited about what we can continue building with your support. Thank you.
Thank you. If you go to the next slide, please. So we're here tonight to present an application for a rezone request to an intensive agricultural land use with property located, go back to slide, please. With property located at 4861 East 600 North. As you see on the screen in front of you in the packet that you've been provided, this is a property where current LEP operations exist. So there is an existing infrastructure in place to support this expansion of land use, main office, maintenance shop, employee ancillary support such as restrooms, break rooms, so on and so forth, outdoor storage. So the particular parcel, as you can see by the presentation slide, is surrounded by farm fields. We do not have any surrounding neighbors as such that would be directly impacted or be adjacent to this zoning request. We go to the next slide, please. What we are proposing tonight, as I mentioned, is a zoning change to an intensive agricultural land use, which will allow us to expand our waste and recycling operations. What you see presented tonight is a conceptual site plan that shows this consolidation of our operations into one location. Those operations being a recycling solid waste handling facility, a wood grinding operation, a future concrete crushing operation, and a future composting operation. As I mentioned, this is the current headquarters of all LAP operations. And we feel that this growth and the consolidation gives us synergy to continue our effort on recycling, our handling of the waste streams being generated within the county and the surrounding counties as well. We go to the next slide, please. The first focus of our expansion, if we are so granted with approval, would be a recycling waste transport facility. And what this facility would be, it's an enclosed building where the waste streams or recycling streams will be brought into, unloaded onto a concrete impervious floor, sorted where the recyclables are removed from that stream of material. Recyclables are then taken to either a third party for continued recycling, or they put in our recycling operation with wood grinding or concrete crushing, depending what that material is. As I mentioned, this is an enclosed facility. As you can see by the schematics, it is a pre-ensured metal building with solid walls, solid concrete floor, solid concrete bunk walls that we would use as our push walls and our storage walls internal to the facility itself. For the purpose of clarity, the recycling center or waste handling facility is a IDEM or Indian Department of Environmental Management permitted facility. We would have to achieve a solid waste permit from IDEM before we can even start designing, or constructing the facility. Not only does IDEM issue a permit for the construction, but they also monitor the operation of that on unannounced inspections, as well as quarterly reporting by the operating facility, in this case, the LAP Recycling. So this is a fully functional facility that moves our operations from, part of our operations from 200 north to this property, so that we can continue on and grow and handle the streams of material, either waste, recycling, products of that sort within the facility, effectively and under the watchful eye of IDEM. If I go to the next slide, please. We would also do wood grinding at this particular property. We're so granted the approval to move forward. Currently, our wood grinding operation is at 1933 East 550 North. If you've been by that facility, you can see the masses of it. It is our intention, as we move forward this development of land, we would move that wood grinding operation to this particular property that we're discussing tonight, so we consolidate operations, consolidate the synergies of our organization into one location. The material that feeds our wood grinding operation is primarily the wood vegetation or discarded wood materials. We grind that into a primarily, the primary use of our wood grindings is an agricultural wood bedding material that is sold for third-party use in businesses and so forth. So again, this would give us the opportunity to move operations to one consolidated location. Then, like the recycling solid waste facility, this is an IDEM permitted activity, as we would have to get a minor source operating permit, which is basically an air permit through the Office of Air Quality, as issued by IDEM. So again, IDEM would be heavily involved in us moving forward. Our current operation at the 550 North property is permitted by IDEM. We do have an operating permit for the wood grinding operation. That permit would follow us with notification to IDEM to this new property. Then future planning for land use, we do anticipate moving some concrete crush and some compost to this property as well. As you can see from the schematic, we go to the next slide, I'm sorry. As you see in the presentation, we have space allocated for these future operations. Again, it allows us to continue to grow From our experience in the streams that we do handle, we do see a lot of concrete or brick rubble that can be crushed for used aggregate as a recycled aggregate product. And we do have the opportunity to take some of the material we do receive and turn it into a compost that also would then benefit the community. But these are future considerations that would help us grow into the use of this property. I did mention the involvement of other agencies. We're in our timeline of presentation and our timeline of moving forward. We are initially beginning some discussions with IDEM on the other permits they would have to issue for our property if we are fortunate enough to move forward with your approval. Obviously, the recycling waste transfer facility will require a solid waste permit from the Office of Solid Waste within the IDEM organization. As I mentioned, the wood grinding is currently under permit from the Office of Air Quality. That permit would be relocated to this new property, so that again would be a permitted operation. Concrete crushing would also require an air permit from IDEM due to the fugitive dust being generated. And the composting operation as it grows on this property would be through the Office of Solid Waste as well. So overall, the property, since it will be used as an industrial land use, will be governed under basically the Clean Water Act of 1980, but it's National Pollution Discharge Elimination permitting sources. That permit would require us to monitor our stormwater discharge from the property, and that property would be, as we grow into it, all those operations would be combined into that same NPDES permit and moving forward. I did mention that IDEM would be heavily involved in permitting these facilities from a design approval standpoint before construction begins, but they also are heavily involved in the monitoring and the inspections of these facilities as well. And again, I want to point out those inspections by IDEM are unannounced, so there's no time to prepare accordingly. So it does put a burden on the operators to maintain the facility, operate those facilities within the permitted guidelines. And let me pause there and kind of specifically talk about the IDEM permit for solid waste in specifics. The application to IDEM for a solid waste permit requires us to have a full design submittal. So that would be architectural drawing showing the building quality, structural drawing showing the structural integrity of the walls of the concrete slab, site design, which shows the traffic logistics and trail logistics on property, and as well as a drainage submittal to IDEM to make sure we're properly handling the stormwater runoff. That permit application is very dependent on a land use approval from the local jurisdiction. In this case, it'll be your board and the county commissioners. We cannot move forward with that application until we have land use approved for our intended use on the property. With that said, we have spoken a lot about IDEM. We also are here to be compliant with local ordinances and requirements as well. We are fully understanding that we will have to present this particular property in detailed design and detailed drainage analysis to the Pulaski County Drainage Board for their approval, as well as we would go through site plan approvals through the offices of Carla and moving forward as well. So we are here tonight on the first leg of our journey moving forward in our permit process. That process being focused on land use. Once we are fortunate enough to gain our land use approvals, then we will pursue these other permits on a systematic approach. Our overall timeline associated with that would probably put us more in line to a spring 2027 construction timeline. And moving forward, as the IDEM approvals are very stringent and very involved in their discussions and in their interactions with us as the design professional. So in closing, we can go to the next slide. The benefits of these type of operations on this property are very, very, very vast, right? Not only is there a business perspective that is a positive from this consolidation. As you can see from the presentation, we're looking at 25 to 35 new jobs being procured by LOP. As Honey mentioned in her opening remarks, it's a locally owned business. So they hire local, they invest here local, they live here in the local communities. Currently, they have over 92 employees. And so that's the business side of it, right? That's the family side that Honey spoke of in her opening comments. But from an environmental standpoint, with these type of facilities and the operation of this facility, as the business grows, we have over a 90% reduction in waste stream that goes to the landfill. LAP Recycling primarily focuses on the recyclables. They do not necessarily focus on the municipal solid waste. Unfortunately, in the product streams that they do handle, we do get municipal solid waste in that waste stream. So this allows us to properly handle that, properly dispose of that at a properly permitted final disposal site. From a local economic impact, as mentioned, it supports the local tax base. It gives us, we do have some local vendors, over 9 vendors that we interact with. And we do have interrelationships with other businesses within the county, from a banking as well as manufacturing perspective. The other comments on this particular page are self-explanatory. Obviously, from a wood grinding operation, we do support other local farms in the Pulaski County area. We do sell animal bedding, as I mentioned, that's generated from wood grinding to local farms, which creates an overall saving for those local community farmers because they didn't have to go to an outside source to find materials that they do need. From a community involvement standpoint, as you heard Honey say in her opening comments, they live here and they're involved here. They're involved in local festivals, fairs. They do provide a discounted service to veterans. And as I mentioned, there is a significant reduction in the waste stream that goes to landfill. And obviously that reduction in landfill creates the longevity of landfills for long-term use. So there is not only an economic business impact for this locally owned business, but there's also a environmental impact that's a benefit to the community and the surrounding communities around Pulaski County, as well as the continued involvement within community events by this particular company. And that is a very substantial investment into the community itself. So what does this mean? Go to the next slide, please. Oop, we have no slide. So what I'd like to
I just want to let you know, the 15 minutes is up, but we would like to, as long as you are okay, I'd like to
I'm
hear.
real close to wrapping this up, so I apologize.
No, you're okay. I just wanted to let you know,
Okay.
but it sounds like we want to hear the rest. I do too.
Okay, so our next step, obviously we're here tonight, we're starting on a journey and a path forward to properly permit a facility that brings economic benefit, brings environmental benefit, and brings community benefit to Pulaski County and the surrounding areas. This is, as I mentioned earlier, a key first step, and that's getting our land use. That item puts the responsibility on local jurisdiction to approve. Once we have our land use, if we are fortunate to move forward, our immediate next step will be the submittal to IDEM for the approval of solid waste and recycling facility. And then we would also then pursue the wood grinding permit relocation to this property. And as I mentioned, we're not losing sight of the local approvals through site plan and drainage board moving forward. So tonight, we'll go to the last slide. So we're asking tonight for approval of a zoning change to A2 intensive agriculture. The A2 zoning change will allow us to consolidate operations of LAP Recycling to a central location that is currently being used as the headquarters for all LAP operations. It gives us the opportunity to grow our business not only from a handling of recycling and solid waste materials, but also the wood grinding. It brings everything to a location that is non-impactful on the surrounding properties or the adjacent properties. And we are fully agreeing and willing to comply with the rules and regulations of IDEM as we move forward, as well as the rules and regulations of Pulaski County. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just, for the board to know, I can hardly read what the green is and the yellow, is that those buildings? I can't see it.
So yes, let me explain that. For the wood grinding operation, we're speaking of in the southwest corner of the proposed development. The green is our inbound material. So that'd be the outdoor storage of the vegetative wood material. The various green boxes are the grinding operations.
Okay.
The red, or excuse me, the yellow box is the interior storage of bedding material. Obviously, it's in our best interest to keep that dry, so as we do provide it for third-party use, it's a dry product. So the pinks, the magenta, browns are operations type wood grinding, storage, sorting, those type of items. The green is the inbound material, then the yellow is our facilities.
Okay. I couldn't read it, so.
No, neither can I just don't remember.
Yeah.
It is our turn to ask questions. Yeah.
How many current locations do you have? Is it just the one? Or, because I thought I heard you say facility on 200 North and one on 500 North, but the new one's on 600, right?
The one,
Yeah, those like.
the one on 600 is our office shop, where the trucks stay. The one on 200, we do some recycling there.
Okay.
So yes, the one on 200 will be more just an agriculture storage facility. If we can get this facility up and running, we would like to bring our recycling, everything to 600 North.
And let me help clarify that. The operations at the basic intersection of 550 and 200. So the official address is at 550 North address, but it's at I guess it'd be the southwest quadrant of that intersection. Right now, that facility focuses primarily on wood grinding, but we do receive recycled materials from different operations within the county or different businesses within the county. So there's some mild sorting going on. There has been in the past some encroachment on IDEM regulations at that particular facility. From the standpoint, IDEM has regulations in place that you can receive inbound material and consider a recyclable inbound stream of material if the content of solid waste is municipal solid waste is less than 10%. So, and that is very judgmental when it comes to when you look at a roll-off box of material. Does it have 10% or more greater of municipal solid waste? So there has been IDEM inspections at the particular facility. There has been note by IDEM. We have publicly been violated at that facility as noticed by IDEM. That has been agreed to. There is an executive order in place that has resolved that open violation. And it was primarily focused on once Chris and I understood the rules of engagement, if you will, by IDEM, they were able to change their operations accordingly and focus more on the recyclable and make sure that the inbound materials comply with those IDEM regulations.
So what part of it would be left where it's at now? You said part of your business would be left where it is.
So I think what Chris mentioned at that 200 North 550 facility would be more of an agricultural storage yard,
Okay.
lime, hay, those type of items. I don't put words in your mouth. It'd be more of an agricultural land use, and it's considered that property from an engineering perspective, right? From a technical perspective, is somewhat what we're currently doing there is okay, but we have to be very careful on how we operate that facility because of proximity to neighbors. Obviously, that is a very mindful consideration we have, but there is also some geographical features in that area, river that's close by. So by moving that operation, if we are so fortunate in our approvals, to the 600 property, it allows us to have the proper areas required based on ordinance, but it also moves us away from the potentials of impact on streams and some waterways that are close to the 200 North 550 property.
So none of the operations that currently have violations or have had violations would stay at that property?
That is a true statement.
Correct.
What would you do with, say you got toxic materials unknowingly on your property, what would you do with it? and a current landfill, say White County wouldn't take it?
So, let me make sure I understand the question. If we get an inbound material that we're not legally able to handle. So, I alluded to earlier, we have a permit process that we have to go through IDEM, and we have a submittal package that we submit to them for approval of solid waste and recycling facility. Part of that submittal is an operations plan. That operations plan is basically the requirements or the protocols that facility is operating under. Part of that operation plan is how you handle unwanted or unpermitted inbound material. IDEM requires us to have a yard manager or an inspector to inspect those loads as they come in. And if that load is still in the truck, it is directed back to the place of origin. If it, for some reason, makes it to, and let's say, the inbound material is well disguised with a covering in that roll-up box or in that container, and it does happen to be dumped onto that solid concrete floor, we are required to load it back up in that same truck before that truck leaves and take it back to the place of origin. So that any unpermitted material, and that's a very distinct list of material. It includes such as biomedical waste. It includes things as liquid waste. It includes things such as vegetation, like grass and those type of items. Things such as tires. So that list is very specific. In part of our operations plan, it is a requirement of the operator, in this case, LSD Recycling, to train their personnel, not only that yard manager, but the other personnel, to recognize what those unpermitted items are and make sure that they're handled appropriately before they are placed on the floor.
So the trucks aren't allowed to leave until the load's inspected?
That is correct.
Now, if it's a liquid waste, you can't really load that back up in the truck. So how is that mitigated?
So, I'm sorry, the like enclosed container type waste?
Or if the liquid,
So if that's the case, then we have to be responsible for loading it and then taking it to the proper disposal. So it is in our benefit to identify that source before that truck leaves. If not, then we have to handle that material immediately and take it to the proper disposal location. So from an operations standpoint, ultimately the responsibility falls to the operator. The first level of responsibility is identification. If that was to fail, the second identification is on the floor itself when it's outside the vessel. Then the third responsibility lies with handling it immediately to take it to final disposal.
So you're currently doing this now, because I hear a lot of if we get this, but it's
Right now, we're handling primarily a recycling.
primarily, but are you handling
We
it?
do some solid waste next into the roll-up boxes that we do receive.
So you're doing it now. What happens now? How many times has it been turned in that this has happened? Because you keep saying primarily, no, you're doing it now.
So let me be clear, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear. That waste stream comes in. Since the violation of IDEM has been addressed, there has been no other waste material that has come in that put it in violation. So we are following the IDEM rules and regulations currently, and we will continue to do that moving forward. To be rather blunt and rather forthright, it was an ongoing situation when that material was coming in, but now that Chris and Honey are aware of it, and they've trained their personnel accordingly, we have not received any material that's outside the guidelines of IDEM that we can handle.
When was the last inspection?
I do not have that report in front of me.
Are there any county violations
There are.
unresolved?
So there are open zoning violations that if on the property that Brian was saying is either 200 east or 550 north, in the GIS, it's 5477 north, 200 east, but it pins to the address that Brian used, the 1953 east, 550 north, because as he had stated, it is at an intersection. There are open violations for zoning because some of the things that are being done there don't fit what it's presently zoned for. And so my hope would be if you consider approving at this other location that any violations that are outstanding would get paid and then that would, just cancel out the violations on the current property.
Yeah, it is our intent to bring ourselves whole with this approval, to address the college violations or the excuse me, Pulaski County violations of that 550, 200 property. By moving that to a property zone parcel at 600, that would help address the violations, make those violations non-existent, and it would help us to move forward in a properly zoned, properly permitted piece of land.
Another recommendation that I would ask, so a lot of businesses, when IDEM does their open air permitting and some other permitting, and they will send me those, usually it's annually, very rarely it's biannually. So they send me those updates on the businesses. A concern would be 4 violations. I don't generally do the commercial IDEM inspections, but IDEM does inspections with me. So a recommendation, if you were concerned because there are violations presently at the one location, to require, I don't know if IDEM does voluntary inspections by the property owner just for verification.
So what they do, IDEM will as they complete their unannounced inspections, they will generate a report accordingly. If there is a violation noted,
Right.
that violation will be handled properly through the Office of Enforcement at IDEM, and that's when the enforcement becomes public knowledge. And I'm going to quick one thing. As of August 14th of this year, the IDEM violation for that property 500 has been agreed to in an executive order. So we do have a copy of that certified mailing that has addressed the violation, the solid waste violation on that property. So we have come to an agreement with IDEM to relieve that violation. And it's important, the reason I bring that up, it's important to note that with this executive order as issued on August 14th, that means that IDEM has came back out to that facility on numerous occasions and have identified that this is operating as allowed under the IDEM ordinance. So they would not agree to an executive order if we were still not in compliance with their rules and regulations.
Are there any other outstanding ones other than that one?
We
Different types?
We do have a violation notice regarding the air permit associated with wood grinding. The air permit is fully, and minor source operating permit is fully approved by IDEM for that specific equipment on that property. The issue of that particular situation was the equipment went into operation and it was in use prior to that permit being issued by IDEM. So it's a timing issue, not an operational issue. However, when we permitted that, when we obtained that approval from IDEM, from the Office of Air Quality for the wood grinding, that permit is equipment specific and not operation specific. So that permit has been issued with specific serial numbers and model numbers of the equipment being used. And because of that, if we move this equipment to a different property, we move it to the 600 property, the 600 North property, we notify IDEM that equipment with serial number XYZ blah, blah, blah is now moving to this address. That permit will follow that equipment to the new location.
What's that location zone is?
The
500?
The A1,
They're both A1. So how is the other one A1 right now if they're operating business off of it?
I guess my thought is, why didn't you come ask to get your current location rezoned before you got violations?
And why wasn't the other one even asked at all? Can't run a business out of a A1 zone parcel of land.
I think, obviously, this is the first time I get to present to this board on behalf of LAP Recycling. I think there's been some lessons learned along the way by Chris and Honey. Obviously, in a farming community, sometimes you take and please take this in the respect that it is said, that a farmer's will is I will do what it takes to make sure that I'm successful. So the farmer mentality is, I am going to do to move forward accordingly. I'm not making excuses. I'm not making up reasons why. But what I am focused on tonight is we're here tonight with a new team, with a new approach to move forward on a path that is the proper path to move forward on. The past is the past. There's lessons learned, absolutely. But tonight we are marching on the right way to move forward, with the right team members to do such.
Are there things that could be corrected or fixed where they are currently at?
By A1 zone activity on it, yes, that would correct it. You could, if you do conditions and commitments, you could require inspections. I don't know how, for violations in this respect would be different than our fee schedule. Like if you wanted to shut down the business. I mean, obviously that's in our building ordinance that it could get shut down.
The other suggestion I may add to that, if there is such a commitment to be made on approval, would be a specific timeline that obviously the property at 550 is operating under IDEM or within IDEM requirements currently. There are some land use items that we're not compliant with. I may suggest that with the approval, that the commitment is that operation cease operation within 2 years of approval, within 18 months of approval, to consolidate everything to this new property. And that way, we have a definitive timeline that says by January of 2028 or whatever that date is so desired to be, operations at 550 have now been removed from that property. It is now back to the use that Chris Honey mentioned regarding agricultural use, which is within the A1 classification use. We now have operations combined or consolidated into the 600 property, which is then, with blessing tonight, of proper zoning and proper way forward.
What work do you do for Notre Dame?
What, Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Zero.
Zero?
Yeah.
I thought it was listed.
Now, I'm actually, I'm a Rose Holman graduate. I practiced civil engineering under my own letter now almost 28 years.
What customers do you have?
Are you asking about his business or about Latin?
Yeah.
Lap.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Latin.
Latin's had dumpsters in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought the question came from me personally.
Because many times you can tell a company's integrity by the customer's
Absolutely.
stats.
We do quite a bit for Notre Dame.
And
Yeah, you have the dumpsters to collect the remnants in the dorm that you tore down.
Yes. So we try to recycle for Notre Dame as much as possible. We work for Notre Dame, Culver Military Academy. A very long list of businesses we work for and work with.
Okay.
Look to grow that.
What should have the current location, or the location with the business on it been zoned?
A2. And that's what they're requesting for A2.
But there, how is that in hence agriculture? Shouldn't it go under the industrial waste related for composting and recycle center?
Well, it's permitted as A2 if you're on page 104 on the bottom. So A2 is showing composting, recycling is permitted in A2.
But there is another option.
You can also, however, you can also in conditions and commitments, you can limit, for example, landfill is available for A2. You can limit that and say no for landfill. You could heavy industrial, but then they have to go through a special exception process through the BZA after it gets rezoned. But then you have more manufacturing that is allowed on heavy industrial than A2. If your freight movement, if you're concerned about items in the future for what the parcel would be zoned. There are a lot of things for heavy industrial that are also allowed for A2 also, though.
There's just more checks and balances for heavy industrial.
Then that would be allowed into as well as special exception. Then you're gonna limit. And they can do manufacturing in heavy industrial.
Yeah, I think they have to be careful because we're like
There's that one.
taking it 3 steps further than it needs to go.
But how much big equipment, how many semis, how many roll-offs, how many, where's that line of becoming? I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out too.
Brian, can you share the IDEM regulation in regards to the amount of weight for a facility this size?
I can. So IDEM has specific regulations in place, and I go back to the operations plan that I mentioned and referred to earlier. As we proceed with the IDEM permitting process, we will be allowed to handle up to a given amount of tons per day. And that is an elective number based on current business as well as projected business growth in moving forward. And I want to pause real quick. One thing I failed to mention earlier is that the IDEM permit for solid waste handling is renewable every 5 years. So at the 5-year mark, a renewed application with public notice would go into IDEM, and they would then approve for the next 5-year period. So it's basically a 5-year in length permit. There are ways to modify that permit throughout that 5 year, make modification, minor modification, depending on what the magnitude of changes are. But Carla, to your point specific, the amount of tonnages that we're allowed to handle today is an elective amount. So if we were to elect that our business model shows that we can handle up to 300 tons per day of material, and now we're speaking we're speaking of recyclable, the municipal solid waste that intermixed with that recycling container to be processed in the, what I'm going to call the yellow building to the north of the proposed landfill. That is the maximum tons per day that we're allowed to handle. Now, there's fallout from that maximum tons per day. So if we would elect to say we're gonna process up to 300 tons per day, at 2 o'clock, if we're at 294 tons of material that we've already received during that day, anything thereafter would have to go straight to a landfill to a final disposal location. We cannot go over that specified tonnages per day of handling. Also, that tonnage as it comes in, within 24 hours has to be leaving the property. This material cannot come in and store on property for a duration longer than 24 hours. So in essence, it's basically, it's in, it's sorted, and it's loaded and removed from property. And that includes trailers that are full material ready to go to landfill as well. So we have specific guidelines to handle that. This facility and something of this size has been my experience, could handle anywhere between 300 to 500 tons of material daily. But that is a function of operations. If you're efficient in loading and handling that material, we have some facilities that process up to 1,000 tons per day that are a smaller footprint than this. However, those facilities handle primarily municipal solid waste, and for the purpose of discussion, and make sure we're clear on the same page, municipal solid waste is basically what we throw away in our garbage at home, right? Where it's basically, you see at a commercial establishment throwing away into their garbage waste stream, right? So it is the heavier, more dense, more solid waste versus recycling. Since LAP recycling is primarily focused on recycled products based on the manufacturing businesses within this area, as well as providing a service to other businesses in this area, that density of that material is significantly lower than the density of municipal solid waste. So when we look at tonnages per day, it's a little bit misleading from the standpoint, if we say we're going to handle 500 tons per day, well, 500 tons per day of municipal solid waste is totally different than 500 tons of recycled solid waste. But we will set that number, and right now we have not go that far into what that business plan is going to show, what that number should be set at, but we cannot exceed that number on a daily basis. And that material, as it does come in, has to be removed from property within 24 hours to a final disposal location if it is a landfill material, or to has to be processed further or stored in a recycled pile to be a further processed on this property. So it could be concrete or brick debris that we would run through our crushing operation. It could be wood pallet that we run through a wood grinding operation. But any solid waste that is landfill material has to be on property within 24 hours.
I thought it didn't get off the truck and got hauled off right away.
It makes for more efficient use when we do that. And that is obviously the goal, always to do that. Because part of that operations plan, we also have vector control and invasive nuisance control. So we are responsible to properly handle odors, rodents, animals, those type of items. So the longer the material that's sit on property, the more of those issues become more predictable. So it is our best interest to move that material as effectively as possible. In the waste or the material stream that we will be dealing with, primarily recyclables. So to help consolidate loading, we will look at some kind of compaction, potentially some way to help consolidate the lighter material so that we do make full trailers versus the lighter trailers leaving the facility moving down the road.
So a couple questions in one. So of the, say, 500 ton, is that coming from would that potentially come from just lap trucks, or are you allowing other trucks? And of that tonnage, is that from within Pulaski County, or does it come from outside of Pulaski County? And then the tonnage, how do you know? Like if my cutoff is 500 ton, are they scaling? And then do they call, if you're just using your truck drivers, they call dispatch says we're at 498. So then they just turn around?
That's correct.
Then?
It is that simple, actually. When you get to that limit of what you're permitted to handle on a daily basis, you turn material away and tell them to go to this final disposal location. So what we've seen in the past, and we've, my firm has designed these facilities all across the state of Indiana. We have seen as these facilities are properly permitted and properly operated, they do provide a community benefit. That community benefit primarily extends to people that are weekend warriors that want to clean out their garage or have a house that they inherited that they want to dispose of material. So opening up to third-party material, not just necessarily LAP recycling, but to third-party handling. Now, common sense says third-party does not mean New York City, right? Third-party does not mean Chicago, Illinois. Third-party means community that we live in and provide that benefit to this community. That community extends beyond Pulaski County. Obviously, with the location of where this property is in the county, we are very close to that southern border. So there is benefit that goes outside Pulaski County to other visiting counties, if you will. We brought up Notre Dame earlier, and some of the services that LAP provides for Notre Dame. Notre Dame is making a push to be 100% landfill free, which includes their trimming of shrubs, right? Their trees and whatnot. So by having a land use that allows composting on property, that does open up the opportunity for LAP to provide that service to Notre Dame in a way that is a properly permitted facility, facility that is handling that material, and then using that material as a third-party source of revenue or a third-party source of benefit back to the community in which they live. But Carla, to your last point, material is weight. We have to monitor every load that comes in by weight as well as by material. That is a recorded weight as it comes across the inbound scale. We have to record the outbound material as well. So those reports are generated on a quarterly basis, and we report those annually to IDA. So everything is weighed in and weighed out.
And you said no municipal trash.
I said we focus on recyclable material that has municipal solid waste in it. With this permit, even though it's not our intentions, the solid waste permit would allow us to receive municipal solid waste.
Okay.
The IDA permit.
And what would happen with that?
That would be loaded up and taken to a proper disposal site, typically a landfill. Even though there is an incinerator in Indianapolis, is making a strong push to have that material shipped to them in Indianapolis because of the steam generation that it produces for the city. We just recently permitted a facility in Fort Wayne, Indiana, that approximately 10 to 15% of that municipal solid waste is being shipped in Indianapolis for incineration into the generation of steam.
When did the zoning violation start, Carla?
Should have bought those. End of 2023. That seem right, Chris?
I'm not sure. We were going to try to rezone the property, but due to close proximity to neighbors.
Right.
And the railroad decided to repurpose the property behind our shop.
So they didn't discuss it with you?
The violation?
No, the trying to rezone or not?
No, actually, yes. Brian did, and then things, I don't,
I guess
I
was
don't know
an
what happened.
effort,
I
was
don't
an
know
effort
which-
made to,
There was
Try.
an effort, yeah. I
Okay.
do have paperwork from Brian, I do,
okay.
where he had talked about rezoning.
Is that what this facility is?
Those should all be what he gave you
Okay,
for
so
the potential.
Facility.
So to answer your question, Carl and I did have conversations in early 23 regarding rezoning the property 550 or 200 to be compliant with an A2 zoning classification. The stumbling block, one of the main stumbling blocks we ran into was to be an A2 zone property, we needed to have a minimum of
40 acres.
40 acres. That particular site is 13 acres in size. And to procure the additional property around is not a feasible option. So we looked at, did we rezone, and then ask for a variance of a development statement non-compliance because we cannot meet the 40-acre requirement, or should we pursue another piece of property? At that time, Chris went into land purchase mode to find some property to consolidate his operations at his main headquarters.
What's the closest residential neighbor to the new?
Facility,
Yeah.
there is a house right next door and down the road a half a mile. They're owned by the same gentleman that owns 3 sides of it. It's Maurice, like, here today. So that's the closest. The closest neighbor, the next closest would be Rich Rhino. It's approximately 3/4 of a mile to the due north of the very north edge of this property. Then on that road, Maurice would be the only residents owned houses in 2 miles on 600, from 600 east to 400 east.
So back to this page, what facility is this? Every part of this package is clearly not the same property.
Yeah, this was this particular layout was probably located on State Route 3 project.
Okay.
It was the old, the old recreational property.
That's currently being used.
That is also being used for school.
So why is it in this packet? Like, is there plans with it or?
I can't- That is our site layout. After we determined that the property at 550 was not a feasible option, or was going to be an option with very, very large hurdles to overcome, we looked at this property and said we're 35.
So this one has migrant housing.
Yeah, that's.
We're gonna propose that here too?
No. That was an interim step that
I was just curious.
should never became publicly heard. It's become public information, but it's not a thing.
It's been suggested that we listen to public comment and then come back one more time and ask any more questions that might bring up. Does that sound okay, board?
Yes.
Before you go into public comment,
Yes,
you
sir.
guys are talking about the possibility of heavy industrial instead of A2.
Yes.
One thing I would advise in sticking with A2 over heavy industrial besides the exception of spots, which is technically illegal in Indiana, is that A2 requires 40 acres. Heavy industrial, I think, would be 2 acres. So theoretically, someday, this all got rezoned to heavy industrial and they were done with this facility, they could chop that up into 20 different parcels and have 20 different manufacturing facilities that could qualify to be built in there. And I think, I mean, intensity-wise, this might just be as much as 20 little, one horse-sized duck or 20 duck-sized horses sort of thing. But you might end up with a lot more traffic, like Megan was getting at, if you've got 20 different or 18 or 16, whatever, different businesses as opposed to one operation that has to occupy that whole 40 acres with the required setbacks.
And that's where the recommendations for A2.
I get that, but it's not really feasible.
So is it lay on 60 acres now, or will it lay on 60 acres or just 40?
48, I think it's 48.8.
Just so everybody knows, that's kind of curious.
That is correct. The existing parcel of the operation road is a little over 8 acres, 8.8, something like that. Then there was a purchase of a 40-acre parcel to be compliant with the A2 requirements. And for clarity, the petition on file is for the entire 48-acre parcel, not just a 40-acre piece. So we are combining the recently purchased ground with the existing operations as one zone classification.
So is the existing operation here A1 currently? Okay.
Yes.
And it is compliant with how it's being used.
Public comment? Anyone have questions or? We're going to keep them here just in case they might be able to answer
question.
Where do we go? Blackshare, that like some the Blackshare where I was sitting, just.
Where Nathan was.
Just in front, right next to me, with like those.
Connie Ehrlich, and I'm sorry if I'm asking some questions that were discussed. It's a little hard to hear everything that they were saying. But I just noticed that LAP was started operations in November of 22. I'm kind of surprised we're having this conversation today, so many years later. It's a family-owned and operated business, and the family has been very heavily involved in local government, including a commissioner, a council member, and an APC member. So I'm surprised that it's gone this long, that they knew that they were operating a commercial business on property that was zoned A1. So my recommendation is this does not resemble intensive agriculture whatsoever. My recommendation or suggestion would be this should be commercial or should be industrial. 500 tons of material coming in and out. I don't know how many truckloads that is, but it sounds like that'd be quite a few truckloads. So my recommendation is that it should be commercial or industrial. Thank you very much.
So based on what Connie had said about with the violations, when, like a lot of people do in Pulaski County, when they get a violation on their property, they'll wait. They'll wait because Indiana code with the 30 days and with how our fee schedule reads, a lot of people will wait till like the last minute. I'm not saying that they do, but people will then say, okay, in the violation it read tires and this and this and that. So if it shows that they're starting to be compliant in that current violation and then they abide by that, then the violation will go away. But we have very many people that are on continuous enforcement in Pulaski County that they take it and they move it somewhere else. So then we wait the 30 days, then it starts over again. So this situation was where there were many times I went there, many times Tina and I had gone there and said, this is a violation. Chris, okay, takes care of whatever the case may be. I don't hold all property owners under my thumb when it comes to violations because there is a time window that we are all allowed for restitution of whatever the citation is on them. So as many people do, I've shown you my stack of violations in my office. As many people do, as this has been done, is they abide by whatever the violation was and then they fall back. And then it starts the violation process over again. So that is part of the continued window of that.
Yeah, I guess with this family being so involved in local government and they should be understanding what our APC, our rules, our UDO zoning. I'm surprised that this family didn't realize that they had a zoning issue years ago.
We have a problem in politics, this family here. We haven't been involved in politics. I have had brothers, I'm sure involved in politics. I have had a phone call conversation 5 years ago from the auditor's office asking if my property was commercial usage, and I said, it probably as much as farming, and they said, well, we are going to change that tax base. So we are not be involved in politics. Just assume that if they can change my tax base on a phone call, I assume my land has changed it. Property tax.
So you've got your word zone for commercial.
Yes, I'm being taxed as commercial, so I mean, it was a phone call from the auditor's office, so on the property, so.
Thank you.
How many, she brought up a good point. I mean, I assume a lot of your trucks probably aren't grossing out at 80,000. If you're doing recyclables, you probably have some that are 40, 50, 60. How about what would be the average and how many trucks would that be?
Mostly In most days, it would never even come close to that, because most days when you're hauling cardboard or wood, which a lot of the material is, a lot of the material, 2 to 4 ton in a roll-off weighs approximately 40,000 pounds, so you're under 50,000 a lot of times coming in with a loaded dump. You're not gonna hit that weight. The difference is maybe some concrete rubble, you need 60, 70,000. So there's a little more tonnage in the concrete, but
So on
a
average,
lot of material we do handle is plastics and cardboard. We bale that and ship out several semi-loads a week of that material. So
what would be your estimate on how many trucks a day to get to your limit?
how many taking it out?
How many a day to get to your limit?
How many come in?
500 ton. Is it 500?
And let me clarify, we don't know if it's gonna be 500, we don't know if it's gonna be 300, we don't know if it's gonna be 800. If you're at 500 tons.
At your current facility, what is it? Not the proposed, the current.
I don't have that in front of me.
You don't know how many trucks come in and out of your facility?
Yes, we do. It's normally 30 or 40 a day. Bringing stuff in, and then there's about 6 to 8 that haul it away because it's processed, whether it's cardboard being baled, plastics being baled. It takes a lot of plastics to make a bale. Same with cardboard. We have a baler that compacts it, ties it with wire.
How many ton is that?
A bale of cardboard.
No, what you're currently doing right now.
In cardboard or?
Your 30 trucks.
30 to 40 trucks a day.
I think we have that information. I don't have it in front of me. The probably average was roughly 410, so 20 tons, maybe right. I figured that right, 30, 40, so 160, probably roughly 150 to 200 tons a day. Being brought in the process.
Now what about the trucks going out? If it's baled and compacted?
It's baled and compacted, a lot less. Obviously, you bring 200 ton down into 20 ton load, that's 10 trucks going out.
So the loads are smaller. I mean, I'm just thinking you could put more material on a load going out if you bale and compact it than you
Correct, so there'd be
can.
about,
So I would think it's way more going out than it would be.
it does, there's about 10 trucks going out, two would be about 40 trucks coming in.
So to answer your question correctly, on the inbound material, you're anywhere between 4 to 12 tons.
You get air.
A lot of inbound, your outbound trucks are anywhere from 22 to 22 tons. So you're, for every 4 you come in, you have 1 going out. Typically, 5 you have coming in, you have 1 going out.
So you don't do concrete now?
We do have some concrete piles, so we're in Fulton County.
Okay. But when you go to do the concrete crushing, are we talking like NDOT projects, city projects, residential?
So it's a recycled aggregate product is how it's.
I know what, yeah, I work.
So it doesn't qualify for NDOT road work type deal, but it is very valuable to farmers that want to put down some kind of aggregate source on a.
Right, what I'm saying is you've got like NDOT projects, you're always looking for a dump site. So if you guys get proper documentation, they could bring crushed concrete to you, or the non-crushed concrete. I was just curious if that's what you guys are looking at, because then you're probably looking at 20 ton of truckload, and I don't know if the roads can handle multiple trucks of that.
Probably not logistically located for any of that. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it could be, yes.
So, yeah.
You guys considered like asphalt millings with your crushing of concrete, they kind of go hand in hand.
Not really, but,
Okay.
Typically, your asphalt millings, obviously with petroleum-based asphalt emulsion, they don't lend themselves to crushing necessarily, but they do.
Crush them individually.
You can, and I'm not saying you can't, but there's a different market for that, for recycling asphalt material, back to the asphalt.
Right.
So the millings,
But I will say the private places do take them.
Oh, yeah, there are private people, I'm not speaking it, there are private people who take buildings and use it for asphalt, right? I think there's no doubt about that. For the recycled aggregate, it's more of, the waste stream of concrete, a waste stream of brick that can be crushed into a sizable aggregate.
Trees or-
The millings typically are paid for at a recycling plant to help them reduce their virgin costs.
Yeah, I mean, they get recycled back to asphalt, but when you're far away from the plant, dump sites are always looking for it.
Right.
And around here, there's no plants close, so if somebody's doing a project down here, they can go to the dump site.
So you said 30 to 40 trucks coming in a day.
Yeah.
When you'd asked the question earlier about that truck cannot leave until everything is gone through. Is what you said
That
earlier.
is
So let me
correct.
finish my thought. It cannot leave. And so where are all these trucks? Would you have, I mean, in here, like, where do they go? That are coming in, that you're waiting? Are they sitting on the road? Are they?
You know, obviously, there is with the existing operation, there are some logistics that we are inherently involved in, or what the operations are inherently involved in on a daily basis. You know, there is logistic issues on the current property. For the most part, that's internal to the property. You know, we have trucks sitting away, we have trucks crossing over in front of other trucks. This particular proposal we have in front of you addresses those logistics. We do have a material flow where trucks come in, they do weigh across the scale. We do have a facility size where there's recycled to be dumped in the facility. We do have several overhead doors that you can back into the facility so we can handle more effectively, more efficiently that stream of material. The other thing at the current facility that we run into from a logistics standpoint, we do have a lot of crossover between our wood grinding operations and our recycling operations. You know, those trucks are crossing paths, whereas as you see in this layout, we have a dedicated path for those two specific activities. You know, the trucks would come in, they are recycling material, would go to the northern building for handling recycling. It's a wood grinding, it would go to the southwest corner of the property where it would dump the material in the outdoor storage for recycling. So we've taken care to reduce the headaches that we currently see with this new product.
So sounds like you plan to compost, is that correct?
We do see that as an opportunity in the future.
What are the materials that you see as composting on this site?
Notre Dame has expressed with the cafeteria material, so food scraps would be mixed in with the wood mulch. Put that in, that speeds up composting as with all of them, or it does sometimes, but that, obviously grass clippings, things of that nature would help composting. It was something we looked at, we're far from it, but
Soil and water testing, is that like EPA driven or?
It is EPA driven, but it's been passed down to local, state governments, so this would be IDEM responsibility. And it's primarily focused on stormwater runoff. So that's what we do have a very stringent stormwater management plan. That will be monitored, and typically that monitoring is after every 1 inch rainfall for a grader or on a quarterly basis. Then we have to do an annual testing of that discharge to make sure that it's within compliance before it moves to a waterway or open ditch. But it is an EPA requirement. It's under the Clean Water Act, but that responsibility has been passed by the EPA to IDEM.
And then you had mentioned like rodents and bugs and all that good stuff. Do you have something in place for that already, or how does that?
yes.
So as we continue this path forward, our operations plan that I referred to, that will be submitted to IDEM addresses that. It is typically by a third-party exterminator or third-party handling for rodent control. The best cure to that, though, is the rotation of material. And this particular facility in the business model that we have is more focused on recyclables versus solid waste. So a lot of, copper wire, wood pallets, cardboard, plastics, where you do not necessarily get the same rodents that you would with a Burger King dumpster that you brought in and dumped on the floor.
So other comments from public?
We got one.
I got one that got sidetracked.
I have a couple of questions. So it's been 4 years and they've not come in to be rezoned, which seems like a long time. However, they seem to also be affiliated with TS Triple M Land LLC, which owns the past Rugged Adventure place out here. I see piles of stuff and equipment out there. So is that another place that's not zoned properly? Because that wasn't mentioned when they were asked what they had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be one that I would request that they cease operation on, but presently, right now.
But they haven't, right?
Have you asked?
But, yes, and that was a situation of where, like I said, when they get a violation, then they stop, and then time goes by, then they do it again, they get a violation, they stop, then they do it again. It's consistent with
So no lesson learned.
many people that I give violations to. Presently, the current use for there is, NIPSCO is running their power line, so that's a temporary use for, it was the most, I'm not gonna say the most safest
But
area
it's not
for
zoned
them.
for that.
But well, they got it, it's temporary, so it's a temporary use for that, for storage, because it was the best type of facility for what NIPSCO needed than they could ever put in anywhere else in the county.
And I'm all for like new businesses, growing your business in the county. I'd love to see that because I hate when businesses close and businesses leave. But I think that steps need to be followed. And I'm hoping that you guys will make them fix what they have, because if you haven't driven by what they have out there, it looks secure and fenced and high and all the things, but it should have been zoned like years ago, and it should be zoned correctly now before they can move on. Do they pay commercial taxes? Oh, so they're.
It's already commercial.
So it's commercial, but it's not.
As a commercial class.
So but it's not zoned commercial. That's bizarre. Okay, that's.
It was a commercial business.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of properties in the county that are like that they pay taxes on commercial and it's not zoned that specific way. And if a lot of those properties were grandfathered in before zoning.
I understand that, but this has been 4 years, so I'm hoping that gets fixed before you allow. And I hope they do get to grow and build, and do other things, but I think it should be done correctly.
Absolutely.
If I may, we're willing to make this commitment. I talked to Chris Honey about this, that with this approval, we will consolidate operations and make all the other properties that we do have, business ventures or storage piles, however you want to define it, would be consolidated back to this property 600. So we would bring all the properties that we're currently operating at or have operations at into current zoning compliance, primarily by consolidating everything to this process. And that would be a commitment that we're willing to make tonight upon approval.
first and foremost, I want to express my appreciation for the questions that you have for the applicants tonight. It is really refreshing to see the board take the time to really understand the project that's being presented to you. May I inquire when the board received a copy of tonight's presentation?
I'm sorry, you wanted us to like hand you a copy
No,
right now?
no, I asked, when did you receive a copy of tonight's presentation?
We've gotten multiple emails about
But
tonight.
on this presentation tonight, did you receive it prior to tonight?
Was this specific one in there?
The different documents that are in the presentation were in their packets.
Yeah, just not like this.
Not the slides.
But they
Yeah.
just gave their slides copy.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just asking how much time you've had to review it, and I do understand that it was put in the newspaper, but the agenda for this evening's session wasn't posted until it had to be late afternoon at the earliest on Tuesday and it's Thursday, so the public really hasn't had enough time to become familiar with what the project is or learn about it. And in coming in tonight, there wasn't any documentation for us to be able to follow back there to like wrap our heads around what the project was and what the impact could be. And I think that you can all probably empathize and relate to the county has come under a lot of heat for making rushed decisions in recent years. Again, so that goes back to, I appreciate your questions, but with the agenda not being posted and the community not really having a good handle of time to be able to review and provide you input on what our questions or concerns on the project may be. And while I did understand some of the questions, unfortunately, for the applicants, it really is hard to hear from the back. Like, I maybe got a quarter of what was said, so I can't say that I was able to formulate quality questions because I couldn't hear the responses for all of them. So my hope would be that perhaps we could table it and you can take all of the back and forth questions, and so that we can all, you specifically, get a better handle on what the project is and what its impact could be to the community prior to making a decision. Like, I know that there were some good questions asked, but again, I just wasn't able to hear the responses to, and then you would all have time to think through the feedback that you were provided tonight prior to making a decision. So if that's possible, that would be my request or recommendation. And again, appreciate the fact that something's wanting to grow in Pulaski County. I just want a better handle on what that would be, and respectfully show appreciation for what you asked tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else? Nice.
My name is Loehmer. I'm Chris's brother. I'm going to be who, I guess, Connie refers to as the family, because I was in your position at one time. And I really don't take, it ain't very nice that she wants to lump together. I have 7 siblings and there's 6 of us still alive. And when one of my siblings does something, it's theirs. I'm only responsible for my explaining. And I explained that to Connie at the meeting when she had found that I had solar panels and I had solar contracts, and I never had solar contracts, did I, Connie? No, so
Can we go ahead and amend that?
Okay.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, why there may be violations or whatever, they have employees, have 90-some employees in the county. They are trying to rectify the problem and get it to an area that they can solve the problem and move on. If, I guess in thinking back, if Tom Galbraith had this much problem, Tom Galbraith or Rob Braun would have been back. They would simply move somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It isn't, I'm not, well, we can have 100 questions on why then something happened. There probably is good reasons why something happened, but the fact is, they're moving forward, they're asking to get something rezoned, and there isn't no harm in it. It's in an area that can handle what needs to be done. But anyway, I support it, and then it's only gonna be good for the community. If we don't have taxpayers, they raise everybody else's taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle. This is Walker, secondly of my parents. I work for LAP Base, and truthfully, I see my future as LAP Base at LAP Base. I have goals with the recycling. I want to get involved with the school. I want to be involved with all the surrounding schools. We want to improve the community. This isn't something we look, that we're getting something out of. It's to improve, to better, to succeed for everyone. And I know there are a lot of questions, but it'll all come in time. Thank you.
Councilman, thank you for your diligence in requesting information. My name's Ryan Eaton. I've lived here in Winamac 9 years. 8 years of that was pastoring Fellowship Baptist Church here in town. I have 6 kids. 3 graduated from the high school here, Winamac. I have 2. 1 high school and 1 middle school. I appreciate LAP. I've been able to work for them for a little over a year. When I resigned my ministry position, it was in all likelihood of my mind that we were going to have to leave Winamac. Not that I wanted to. This is our home. We've come to love Pulaski County. So much of the hardworking people that live and reside here, the natural beauty, our family loved it. But I honestly thought we were going to have to leave. LAP offered me a job, and I've absolutely come to not only enjoy, but to really be thankful for. We are a family, and as many have presented, we're a growing family. And Chris and Honey and the other managers and operators, they have a love. They have a love for this area and for the community, and they're wanting to give back. It's clear that they're coming before you this evening. They have a desire to do good, is what I'm trying to share. And again, I am their employee, but I'm thankful, and thankful that I'm able to stay in the community, that my girls are able to stay in the school, and appreciate your consideration again, and giving us what we need where we can continue to serve the community and the residents. And that's how I look at it. I look at it, I might be in a different occupation, but I'm still wanting to care for people and serve people in the capacity that I have. And I appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. One option that we have is to grant the A2, but then have conditions. And so I don't know, I know Tyler is wondering if we need to, continue this on at our next meeting, possibly. That obviously is an option too, but I think I just feel like that they're employing great people in our community. They're doing good things. It's bothersome to everyone that, we're doing the, I'm going to do it and then ask for permission later, whatever that saying is. And so that's tricky for us as, trying to make sure that the zoning is done right in this county and our folks are taken care of. So, but I didn't know how you guys felt about moving forward.
just to be clear, I want to see you guys succeed,
Mm-hmm.
but it really just, the violations and not getting taken care of, that just doesn't sit well.
We can,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it can't continue that, because then all we're doing is wasting time, energy, money. We need to be able to collect and move forward, like you had mentioned, so.
And I would like to, add that this is the first step that is a very viable first step in addressing those violations. With this approval, with this commitment from LAP, those violations I had referenced earlier in the conversation, we're open to a time commitment to consolidate, to address those violations. We're open to commit of bringing all the property where we're operating into current zoning compliance. So we hear loud and clear that we have not necessarily been a good neighbor in the past, for whatever reason, but that's the past. This is a new day that we're moving forward with, and we're doing what we would like and we feel is best for the community in addressing violations and consolidating operations, providing a benefit to the community, providing a benefit to our employees that work for LAP Recycling, providing a benefit for the growth of a locally owned business within the community. So, shame on us for being bad in the past. This is today and tomorrow's the future. And this is our first step to address those violations so that we are compliant.
I mean, I appreciate that, Mike. I think everybody up here does want everybody to succeed. I'd love to see a hometown grown business. I mean, I've been here forever. But with that being said, I don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight. It's one thing to go through documents and read papers. It's another thing to talk to people. And I would have loved to have heard from you two more than him, to be honest. You're the heart and soul of this. I want to know, tell me what you guys want to do to make these things better. I want to see things succeed. But I mean, that's where I stand, to be 100% open and honest tonight. I would like to just kind of digest it all, figure it out, and see where we go.
To explain a little bit, in the past, I thought I could just do everything myself. And there is not enough time today, and whether a little more or a lot more wisdom comes with some age. We do have a great team hired. Brian is definitely part of that. We have another firm on YouTube that helps us tell us how we need to do it.
Where to navigate, yeah.
Legal navigation too and so it's very helpful. We're definitely moving towards the right path, and I'm taking the time to listen to a lot more educated people than I have. So.
And if I could add a little bit too, I keep hearing tonight that we just disregarded every commitment. Like, we knew what we should have done. This was new for us. And when we did, when IDEM came out and was talking to us about our grinding permit, we took that advice. We were unaware, and it is for us to figure it out. It is our responsibility to get educated before we do it. But we thought we did know. We truly thought we knew. And then when we were trying to get rezoned, we did reach out to Carla, and we did have a lot of roadblocks. And Carla did, she was leading us, and we had a lot of roadblocks that we just kept trying to work through, and we kept hitting them. So then when we got to that point where we've been working with IDEM, and we did then say, okay, we just didn't see where we could get out of that roadblock where we currently were. So we then went, okay, what can we do to fix all of this? Because it felt like it just kept adding and adding and adding, and we couldn't get what the county needed, and we couldn't get necessarily what item needed, so how can we? And we love LEP waste. Never in my wildest dream did I ever feel like the trash would be something that I would love. I love what we have created and the people that we have. We have such an amazing group of people that we're blessed to have part of our world, and that's why we keep fighting and moving forward. We honestly could have quit. We could have just quit and said, you know what, we're not going to be able to meet all the expectations, we're just going to quit. But we're here today, we're doing the hard stuff, and we're fighting for what we truly believe will bring something back to the community.
We have been working with IDEM from the beginning. We do turn quarterly reports to IDEM of what we've done. A little bit of the older management called us a 90-10, which was just a simple recycling facility. And now we need to be a little different. That's why we're trying and get where we need to be in the county. So I mean, we have not ignored all of it. We've been obviously working with IDEM for a lot, but we have ignored too much. So we don't want to do that anymore moving forward. So.
Have you looked into anything that other counties have put in for protections or requirements for facilities like this?
Well, some requirements I have are items such as a road use agreement. Obviously, they need a SWIP for drainage and runoff approval through the drainage board. I would want to see water quality studies and soil studies. I would want to see state releases if Homeland Security, DHS requires anything on the current structures there now to make everything 100%, as well as DHS for any future structures. I don't remember lagoon is on the site plan. It is not. There's no requirement for that. My concern is in not being experienced in this area, the municipal waste and household trash, the separation of that, then would there be any biohazards in there? How you sort the household. Well, so I actually use this example to Brian. So my house flooded and I had a 2/3 of a loss, and they were going to call my house a total loss. So being out of my house, then I've had a couple dumpsters filled and I threw everything in, moldy stuff, everything. Household waste, obviously, kitchen cabinets, flooring, toys, furniture. So there's household waste, and then there's my bags of rotten food from a refrigerator that sat for 3 weeks. How do you separate that if you would only take the recycled items? That all is in my dumpster.
Hopefully it'll be in bags, but yes, it is.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on which kid I told to clean out what room.
If there is some good wood, which I could know, they would send me pull it out, and the rest would be pushed to the skid loader at this facility, it would go into a compactor, which pushes it into a sealed unit. And it compacts the trash in, and the trash.
But I think that's a great example, Carla, that you just used, because we as humans, for us, we see something we don't want. So we throw it in the same dumpster, right? And in that same dumpster, it could be, like you said, a cat. It could be a piece of wood furniture. It could be, that moldy bread that got flooded out. That gets thrown in the same dumpster. It comes into this facility, and that gives us the opportunity to say, instead of that 20 tons or that 14 tons of material, 15 tons of material going to the landfill directly, that included a recyclable item such as a wood cabinet or a wood piece of furniture or a metal cabinet or a metal chair. We're able to take that material out of that, keep it from going to the landfill, recycle it, and then take what truly goes to, that is part of the landfill to the landfill. So everything you just described is an admissible solid waste to this type of facility.
Okay, well, so how about just the junk in my kitchen trash bags that got thrown in there? So can you dumb this down? And I'm saying for me, not for them, so I apologize. So I have all the crap. My daughter changes the kitty litter to it goes in that dumpster's, anyway. So is this a fact? Is this an item requirement in regards to, so the bays that you pull up for your sorting, you have to have a specific type, thickness, depth of the concrete for the floor,
Yes.
the walls for those, and only those bays are allowed that specific waste? Is this true information, and can you elaborate?
Yeah, so, this facility will have a solid concrete floor. In our terminology, that concrete floor is what we call a floating slab. So we build our foundation, we build our push walls, we backfill, then we put our slab on top of that. That joint between the wall and the slab, as an item requirement, is required to be caulked with a chemical resistant, product resistant caulking, so that there is no way any residual, again, the terminology, wastewater, leachate water, can get down into the ground.
So that slab is not a standard slab, that's what, like?
It'll be, typically they're 8 to 10 inches thick with reinforcement inside. I mean, it is an industrial rated slab, something that can withstand the loading pressures of mobile wheel loaders, excavators, those type of items, as well as a, 40 to 60,000 pound truck.
And these are facilities that are being ran all over America. But the difference is our facility, we're going to try to take a lot less directly to the landfill. We're going to try to take a lot more out.
I do know of a facility in Fort Wayne that Brian had referenced to me that they were trying to similar type of use with that facility.
So what happens when you get batteries, paint, chemicals, all that junk come in?
There is some of that does happen. A battery would be taken until it was salvaged. Unfortunately, all that's not supposed to be in a dumpster, but it does. We have a list that we can accept, but some of it is, and it goes into a container, goes to the landfill. If it is there, so.
Noise levels, hours of operation. Have you had any sound studies done, any decibel studies?
I have no.
Do you have, so I know that we had complaints, and I honestly haven't in a while heard of the noise late in the evening. And I had thought you and I had talked one time, and you talked to the neighbor that had a concern. I don't know what's happened since then, but so whatever that noise was, is that something you can limit?
Yes, we're not running these anymore.
Okay.
What are your hours?
We start at 6 a.m. We're usually done at 6 p.m.
Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, Monday.
Yes, Saturday we're usually done. Don't start till 8 o'clock if we do work. And then noon usually in the morning. So.
And one point of clarity, that operations plan that we're referring to, those hours will be specified, and they're required to keep that gate locked outside those hours. So if they choose to operate from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. on a Saturday, at 12:01, those gates get locked and operation cease. And that is, will be monitored by IDEM as well as obviously, the local community.
Other questions or thoughts?
I've learned a lot tonight.
I feel like I learned more than looking at this. so.
I think I have a lot more to learn. I think there was a lot thrown at us at once. I don't know.
Are you?
Have I got any, I grew up with a company, Winamac Coil Spring. What these people are facing is the same thing. You learn, you start off small, you grow, you're gonna run into obstacles. Is everything they say today gonna happen? No, they're gonna run into obstacles, they're gonna have to change. But every one of them, Don Galbraith, Ralph Braun, Walt Pastorisi, what they all had was help from town fathers, from community figures. That's where we're at today.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody that wants to employ people. They've done things wrong. We all have done things wrong. I think you're trying to do it the right way now. So if you were going to vote, I'd say yes, right now. IDM or IDM, Indiana Department of, they're in compliance. They're watching. I don't see where there's a problem, to be honest. And I'm sure you're gonna watch them too, aren't you? Okay.
This has been mad at me some. And that's what I was talking about with, because I actually don't disagree with you. I feel like they have their ducks lining up in a row. But if we come back with some extra, like anything that's not compliant now, they can't continue running, or something on that order where until things are paid, it just can't keep going because it's not like in compliance with anything. And so maybe we need to, put some of that in place, and then we're not taking 100 people and taking them off jobs too. I mean, it is ultimately their responsibility, but I also feel like I hate to push something on if it's gonna make people lose their jobs. You guys gave us a heavy one tonight. This feels like,
So if this doesn't happen tonight, you're saying people lose their jobs?
I don't know.
If it doesn't happen right now, people lose their jobs?
No, as long as we continue to run how we're running, which we don't want to, we're not interested in waking up tomorrow and asking anybody.
Yeah.
But to get our cycle stream back would be very hard if we stopped now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see.
Well, I think that's where the team comes into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're asking you for approval so we can become compliant, right? So we're trying to work within you that you want us to be compliant, but you also have the authority to shut us down, right? So just like we can take away those 100 jobs, you guys can take away those 100 jobs as well because we are not compliant. So we're asking you as a team, help us as we help you to address these issues.
And I think you've outgrown the other facility, right?
Yes,
I mean, I see your trucks going up down the road, and
yes, we started very small, and this is nice. People with like Michael, we started sorting some dumpsters with this high school football team, and they had kind of fun in the summer recycling. We've done a very small thing, and it just kind of kept growing along with the business. It grew a little faster than handle it all.
So Carla, give us a little advice from your office, what you would like to
We recommend.
recommend, yeah.
Violations cleared and paid. Speaking with the surveyor, drainage board approval, and with the drainage board approval, we need a SWIP, including a drainage agreement. A road use agreement, we've talked about a road use agreement in regards to if there's going to be one set facility, and the highway superintendent and I had spoken in regards to, we would talk to come to an agreement and for road repairs, escrowing, whatever the case, for road damage, if they're using the same consistent roads. I wonder if you would be interested in putting a cap in how much can come in. Now maybe, and this is where I don't understand, trash coming in from other counties. Now I understand recyclables and you get money for it, or you take electronics, or would you consider
No,
to
we
take?
don't. If we do have electronics, it's in a separate dumpster, and it goes to Trinity Metals in Indianapolis. They're certified to recycle.
Okay. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, sorry for saying that.
Oh, it's okay.
But, I still keep thinking about the things that have been in my dumpster at my property. You have people that will sort through all that.
We do have some, yes.
So if you don't take it, then, like me as the property owner, so you go and you pick up my dumpster. And I have so
If it
much.
was so bad, we'd simply probably just run it straight to the landfill. If the driver says, hey, I think she threw a dead cow in there. So, we're gonna take that straight to the landfill, unfortunately, because they're not interested in sorting something. Or like a freezer
Okay,
that went
but
bad.
not saying I know things, but like say I have a freezer and then all my insulation, and I know that I would wonder if you would spray it down to then pack it down, then to put more things in there, and you didn't see the freezer, which had that dead cow in it. If you don't know that the cow's in it until you get in my dumpster and open the lid up and.
It would go right into the trailer, which the trailer goes to the landfill.
Okay.
But then we ain't gonna leave the big cow.
Well, let's be clear, there's a difference between a freezer and a dead cow.
But if it's closed, you don't know.
But a freezer, there are environmental issues depending
You
on the.
can
age.
recycle and environmental with, right, I
I'm
understand.
going a different route here, is that freezer, depending on the age of that, has a freon gas in it that's gotta be captured legally. So in that particular case you described, that freezer's in that dumpster's coming back to your house.
So, okay, we use this example, okay, so you bring the dumpster back to my house and I'm gonna be like, free game, I'm filling your dumpster back up with my junk. So now what? Well, what would we do because my agreement, you took it away?
Right, so in that particular case, right, and I'm being a little bit facetious on saying that we're not allowed to take a freezer unless it's been tagged to court.
I did.
Right, but it's our responsibility to make sure that that is an appropriate waste of receipt.
Okay.
Again, if that dumpster, I gave you 3 scenarios earlier, that if that dumpster comes in and there's a product in it, we have the responsibility to send it back to our origin, where it came from. We have the responsibility to handle that waste in a methodology that is properly permittable and or approved by IDA. In that particular case, if that freezer came in, we had to set it aside and take it to somebody to remove that freon. That becomes an expense on us, obviously. Then third is, well, I said we can take it back to you, or we do receive it because of the contractual, whatever the case may be. We have to handle that waste appropriately, and we have to identify that waste as it comes in, where it came from, and how we handle it, as I report to the IDA on a daily basis. We have to report that information. So, and that goes back to properly trained personnel, understanding what that waste stream is and how to handle it.
Okay.
And as was, I mean, there are going to be mixed loads that come in that we have to be able to say, how do we handle this particular item? You know, Chris mentioned the about carbon. There are methodologies or methods in place to handle it.
I would want to see, operations to cease at 35 and the two 550 property. Give them a time frame. I feel like, again, I've never run a recycling facility. Possibly you may have some ground available that you could take the equipment to get it sooner than later from the 550 to 200, which if that's the case, then that would be beneficial on how they would determine what the timeline is. I would like to see a business plan timeline on what would start. If you have the possibility of building any new structures, obviously you have to get your state releases. I would like to see the current structures there go through Homeland Security to verify something doesn't need to get done. I know Brian and I had discussed on another person's property in regards to like sprinkling, so this facility, I don't know what IDEM would require for current structures.
Wouldn't,
I think that would be more.
like a sprinkler system for fire?
If
Yeah,
it's,
is there fire
Would it be bad
suppression?
for a
I'm sorry.
Is there fire
trash
suppression?
facility? Or
In the new
water
facility,
runoff?
Yeah. Is there in the old facility?
I don't know about the old, the new one, there's not a plan. We're under the square footage of space.
a waiver.
The cutoff for fire protection is 12,000 square feet. And recycling and waste transfer facilities down there.
You would be okay with like seed and whatnot.
So,
I understand you don't have to, but I would think you'd want to have fire suppression. I don't want all the crap burning.
may I make a suggestion to help move this forward? Even though we would not like to, even though we'd like to approve tonight, but if there is some concern, maybe we take the assignment to work with Carla and address some of her recommendations to the board, get those in a documented format that can be presented to the board to mutual approval and mutual agreement. And then we come back in the September 28th meeting to hopefully, it will not be a public hearing as such, but just more of a interaction with the board. Here's the agreements that we worked through. Here's how we're addressing some of the items that Carla just mentioned, and hopefully to the satisfaction of Carla, then she can present to the board.
How far behind would you be if we waited a month? Really completely behind?
We're just working with violations, the world sooner the better with IDEM, obviously, they want us to get the county approval, so we can move on with them.
So I guess, not to be, what I want to be, the reluctance to submit to IDEM, which is a 6 to 8 month review period for the solid waste permit, has been energy spent, money spent for not, if you do not get county land use approval. Right? So we've been reluctant to move forward any effort because that's, can be a very expensive move forward. So, and I apologize for doing this, but if we had confidence that we could move forward, if we could work through some of these issues, maybe not formal confidence or a formal approval tonight, but we had confidence that we could work to that approval over the next 30 days and work with Carla, I think Chris and Honey would potentially turn me loose to submit the IDEM permit, at least start working toward the IDEM permit, if that makes sense, right? So, and I'm speaking a little bit out of turn. I want to get you backhanded or kicked in the table here in a second. But if we had a sense of confidence, 80, 75, 89, whatever it may be, that says, we like what we hear, we think we can work this out, we can start then and we can not necessarily lose that timeline of a 30-day delay. And it also gives us opportunity in the next 30 days to work with Carla to come up with an agreement or a plan forward to address her concerns, that she can present back to the board and say, hey, I'm comfortable in allowing this to move forward now.
Like I said earlier, I want to see you guys succeed. I think if we have the right conditions in here, then I don't.
And if you're in working with her, I mean, it means a lot to hear that, you know, there's some of her concerns being addressed as well as ours, so.
Is there a decommissioning plan, for lack of a better term, for the old?
That's what I was gonna ask you to, if you
Add
got to
that
that,
in there.
yeah. When ceasing production, that's why I said like eliminating, moving, but yeah.
And with that, there is some consideration that we can give to moving the wood operation more efficiently and quicker to a properly zoned piece of ground. In other words, move it from 500 or 550 to this property, because as I mentioned earlier, that equipment is what's permitted by IDA. So us to relocate that, we're not starting a whole new air permit all over again. It's just a matter of saying this equipment item that you already approved for this air permit is not moving here. Now, there's some land development, some land improvements that need to be done that Chris and Honey would have to do. But we could accelerate that process as part of a good effort to say we're kind of compliant.
Move a large portion of it in a shorter term.
Yeah. So do I have a motion to table it until, whoa,
Before you do that, we've never actually like closed public comment, like the actual hearing. If you're gonna do it, you need either to let the rest of the public speak or make it clear, I think, that public hearing will resume at the next meeting and not just your discussion. I don't think you can just like cut the people off here at a public hearing to move on without making that decision, whether you're gonna let the rest, anyone else who wants to speak, or reopen the hearing component at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I think our preference would be, let's hear all the comments tonight so we can get them all addressed over the next 30 days. So if there's additional public comments, we'd like to hear them tonight, close that portion of the meeting so that next meeting we can focus on the commitments and or agreements that are in place.
oh, that's a tough one for me.
Me too.
I appreciate our public's comments, and unfortunately, I do, I mean, not unfortunately that I agree with Brandy, but I'm just saying like that she couldn't hear, you know, maybe they have something that they would like to bring to the table next week or next month, I'm sorry. And so I personally don't feel like I would like to close comments. Do you guys have any thoughts?
I would like to just continue the hearing.
Okay. So I think, I'm not really sure what to ask for. So
Motion to continue to table the.
Recess the public hearing and reconvene.
And reconvene, yeah.
okay, so do I have a motion to recess the hearing with a, say it again?
And reconvene.
Recess the public hearing.
Yes.
Reconvene it at your next meeting.
Yeah, and reconvene next month. At our next meeting, September 28th.
Not July.
Not July, like it says on our paperwork. Sorry about that. I haven't run into this one yet. Do I have a motion? To reconvene? I have a motion.
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So we'll take more comments at our next meeting and try to move forward, so. Okay. Yes, thank you. So we still have a little meeting left, but if you choose to leave, we'll give you a couple minutes while we. Yes. What do you think?
Oh, yes.
You guys want to take
I think we'll still have discussion. Yeah, that right.
Okay, due to the time, I believe we would like to table the rest of our agenda unless someone, do you have any opposition to that?
Okay, those two, can we add them to?
We're talking about, I didn't put it on the agenda because we didn't tell that they give money for, vacating or so. So it's what? Just the budget for approval. But, so this is on the record, can we please talk about, and we wasted the battery storage tax amendments? I don't know. I just want it to be on the record. Now we can't touch our moratorium until.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple things that we need to finish up. Yep. So we're gonna go back to old business. And we do need to address the BESS text amendments review. Oh, I need to close the hearing, right? Close the hearing. No, we reset. Okay, so then we're going to BESS text amendments review.
Okay, so this is part of, public record.
Fire alarm?
Here, Nathan, I'll do it. Okay, so take
I'm not on, there's no.
APC, BESS text with the blue highlights. For the most part, what you've seen, what you've been emailed, what we've talked about for a year, a lot of this language is still the same. I am going to tell you where you see blue, those are additions or adjustments, or maybe it's been moved. So I'm talking fast, I want this on record, there's nothing majorly changed, I will speak what was changed. Page 1, where you see dated, a dated plan drawn to a legible scale. Utility scale as opposed to commercial battery energy storage system, you'll see in number 3, herein referred to as utility scale BESS. If a special exception has been granted by the BZA, the developer shall apply for a permit. Page 2, I added for 911 approvals, I added dispatch director approved 911 addresses at gate entrance. I added, you'll see on page 2D, certificate of public convenience and necessity. So this is classifying, also let me say a clerical item, under 3 application, I'm saying there are documents that are required. H is saying required agreements and plans, so that's where I put all of our documents. So, and then they're more detailed in section 8. So we would be requiring with the permit application a certificate of public convenience and necessity. I put the referencing Indiana code for that. H at the bottom of page 2, these items were already in your language, they were just moved around, and I put it in a more flowing format to say the following required agreements and plans executed as prescribed in section 8 of this ordinance. I altered the language to say for the proposed project on the top of page 3. Section 8 on page 3 definitions is where I added utility scale. I also wanted to ask if you felt if we go by a size. I have highlighted here under 15 cubic feet are exempt from this section and would abide by accessory use guidelines. And so 8.2, page 4. Combining purpose and intent and applicability, removing some, you will see throughout the strike through is removing some redundant language or else this language was placed in somewhere else. Purpose and intent, this ordinance is adopted pursuant to IC 3671 and all applicable Indiana law as authority for Pulaski County to regulate land use development. Rest is the same. 8.3 administrative provision is language that was added. These items are in here, but we're already in what we've talked about, but it got moved to a more flowing format, stating, as you had requested to state, facilities require a special exception approved by the BZA. And then everything is moved, maybe alphabetized. Some language is struck through because that is redundant, because there would be that specific language written in those specific documents that are required. And you'll see that there's more detail, like on page 5. This is the exact same language. If you do not see blue, it is the exact same language. It is just moved in a more organized area. Top of page 6, an agreement that is required at permit application is a reimbursement agreement. Instead of, like we originally had, saying they're gonna pay 10% and reimburse us all our costs, we said that, I think, 46 times in this, struck through all of them and just made a reimbursement agreement. Notification, it's saying what we already know, that doesn't, anyway, because it's notification requirement, struck through in B. Removing in conflicts of law, number 6, FAA really wouldn't regulate battery storage, it would be more NFP. Page 7. You had already discussed this. This language is moved around a little bit under 8.4 general regulations, B, area limitation, minimum of 10 acres, maximum 20 acres. Language is just altered, but I still highlighted it so it didn't look like I was doing anything without anyone aware. Floodplain elevation, the language was in there, but I detailed this more, moved words around is why I put it in blue. D, under property value guarantee, putting utility scale. I do want to add, again, as I've mentioned before, take my information as you will. I do not feel a property value guarantee is a land use item. If you want a property value guarantee, I feel it needs to be with somebody with more financial, maybe make that be the council's requirement, or maybe I think I had mentioned in a meeting, make it be part of the economic development agreement. That's something that Nathan and I could not, I haven't talked to Nathan on that. I mean, briefly, I did at one point, and to see more of that, where that could go, aside from it being a requirement in that portion right here. Going to page 9, 8.6, safety design and installation standards. I added on A1 in effect on the application date. Then all this language that's in blue actually was moved. If you remember, the last few pages didn't have numbers. I just put the language in. When for quite some time I was adding to it. That just got moved from the back. It is now in a location. Manufacturer specification not changed. Strike through B because that's in another section, which is in that reimbursement agreement. Change the language under fencing and setbacks. Actually combine those because fencing has a setback. I still left the 1,320 feet highlighted to verify for inverters. You all had requested 1,000 feet from non-participating property lines, so 1,320 from inverters. No change on 10. I will say that items got sorted and maybe pseudo alphabetized. Page 11, landscaping. This has been altered. to have its own section. You wanted berming, we talked about, slopes. I put more specific information in there in 1A for berming. 4-foot wide crest, which is fairly standard from what I've read and understood on it. I have berming documentation I will give you. But we didn't have any information in regards to erosion control for a berm, so that's why B is added in that. So moving screening and ground cover and vegetative screening, moved, consolidated some language, you'll see is in blue. Number 4, landscape buffering, changed to landscape maintenance. Some of the language got moved up. We duplicated some. Also, I added page 11, ground area within perimeter fence shall be free of combustible vegetation, you already had, and surface with non-combustible aggregate base. Page 12, strike through that and remove that. Oh, no, strike through that altogether. You can't really waive a berm screening. So I don't know if anyone has any other opinion on that. You can't, the berm needs to be continuous. So I struck through that. If you aren't okay with that, let me know. Didn't change electrical. Setbacks is duplicated since I combined it. Didn't change 8.7, which is utility scale BESS pre-construction requirement, except striking through most of that language because that language will be in the road use agreement. Page 14, nothing changed, items got moved around. Again, this was language that was not labeled. Same goes with page 15. I highlighted G, groundwater monitoring on page 15 because I would like to add more EPA information, verification from them I'm waiting on. H, adding on annual soil certification, adding more specification on that. $16 didn't change, or at least the language on it didn't. It's been sorted. 17, I created 8.9 certifications because we had a couple certifications here and there. Made them their own section in section 8. Decommissioning plan, that has not changed. Page 18, plan updates, you had requested in the last meeting. Change that to every 3 years. And that's why I kept that highlighted as something that was changed. Page 19, none of that's changed, just been moved. Page 20, notice of change in ownership or operation. I felt like if they do it at all, they'll do it. So I put that deadline in of within 30 days of the event of change or whatever it is. One thing that I do want to add, page 21, 8.12, it would end up being failure to comply with regulations. So that is not on this document, but I want to ask if you are accepting of a failure to comply with regulations for immediate stop order of the area of violation. Remembering the example that I gave that when I've had a construction project and they're working on electrical, plumbing, garage, plumbing was a problem, so we shut down the plumbing portion, but we did not shut down the garage structure. So if anybody has any insight, I'm going to email you this document with that language added. Please, if you have any additional requests for that, let me know.
Or do we do the changes zoning?
Oh, yeah. Megan, change the zoning if you wanted to. I would say if you want to request that it's required a zoning change, you could say that they have to go through a special exception and a map text amendment, so that would be in number 3.
Because this one's definitely not gonna be
Page
added, right?
That's what
Batteries
we
aren't added.
decided last time.
So considered rezoning, okay. All right.
Okay, anything else with that? Anybody? I understand we have a public comment that we need to address. If you, yep, you're on. You got it.
Okay, so one thing that your board has been responsible for is when somebody wants to vacate a subdivision. I don't have all of the ordinance and everything, given everything we've had to do this evening. So there's a lot of hoops that a property owner has to jump through. There's some Indiana code. We're waiting on the attorney to verify some language on how we don't have to have them come to your board when they want to combine parcels, mainly within town
Within
limits.
towns, we're not requiring them within towns. Would be actually not vacating, it would just be doing a combination of lots. The one that we have currently, that we've actually looked at and has got kind of on our table is in Monterey, the house that's over 2 lots. There's also a garage. They own all 4 parcels. They want to combine them to be 1 parcel.
Or tax advantage.
Just so sometime down the road, if they don't pay on one of the parcels, it could go up for tax sale and half the house could sell.
We've had that a lot. When I was treasurer before, we had a house that sat on 2 parcels. And unfortunately, maybe the mortgage company didn't have the 1 parcel. And so then it went up for tax sale, or could have, if we did not pay attention and make sure that on the map that it covered both parcels, then we would take it off the tax sale. But this would solve that kind of situation.
So what are you asking?
I know.
So we're asking to be able to combine the lots and not necessarily vacate a lot. There is an IC code to consolidate contiguous parcels, and that's what we're kind of wanting to not have to come to you every time. We are requiring the person to, it has to be in writing, is what the IC code says. They have to come to us in writing. So we want them to come to us in writing. I sign off of it, the auditor signs off of it, the surveyor signs off of it, because it does include stuff with ditch tax. So we already kind of have looked at it that way, and probably put Carla in there too, so that she can say, yes, this is one we can consolidate.
I think as long as Carla knows about it.
Yeah.
There's an IC code that already says.
There is an IC code on it.
Yeah.
I didn't make a bunch of copies, but we do have the IC code if you like it.
Yeah.
And we would not combine parcels that were acreage and lots, it would only be lots. And the new description would say, lot 1 and 2 of certain, subdivision. It wouldn't, we wouldn't make it, I mean, it's just mainly just to get them together so that we don't have these issues.
We're not creating new legals, we're not doing any of that, we're just wanting to make it so it's easier for the property owner.
Yeah. I don't think anyone have a problem with
No.
that?
I didn't think you had to come to this board to do that. I thought you could do that in the auditor's office.
Yeah.
Most other counties can,
Okay, because yeah.
so.
We just want to make sure we're doing this right way, everybody knows
Sounds
about it.
like
Makes
it's-
sense, yeah.
Parcels get combined all the time for magnitude reasons, like.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
sorry you waited this whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah, but I'm glad you said something, so we didn't adjourn without you, so, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
But one thing I want to say concerning on the UDOs and all this, when the commissioners deny everything we do, why are we wasting our time? I think the whole board thinks that.
We do think that.
And I
I
want,
mean, doing this battery stuff, sure, that's fine,
21
but
pages.
why are we wasting our time when they won't even consider grammar changes and reject the whole thing so that we can't even talk about it for 12 months?
There wasn't even feedback or insight from the last go around, like, just no.
It makes a person real hesitant to want to even do this. And if they reject this, then we can't talk about it for 12 months.
and Carla, you're the one wasting the most time.
That's why I wanted to make sure that it was on record that we discussed it. So, because like I said, we have the moratorium that will be expiring in October. And I'm hoping that this will be a different scenario since we don't have ordinance protection for it. And we had solar in the ordinance, I guess, if you want to compare the two. But please review this. I know we've had it, like I said, we've worked on it for a year. And it's coming to a close, and look at the blue lines, look at the strike throughs, but honestly, most of it was more clerical or redundant language in there that it's a fact, this is what needs done, we don't need to explain why. This is what we want.
We shouldn't have had to on the other one either.
I understand.
I mean, the only thing we could do is ask to be on the agenda for the commissioners, meeting, and at least
For their Monday morning meeting, that nobody can.
then no one can really get to. I
Let's
can,
just throw that out there.
I'll redo my schedule. It is frustrating, and I'm frustrated a little bit for, like you said, with Carla's time and energy on all of that as well, and taxpayers' money that we sat and.
Because harvest is coming up, and I mean, after this, the next meeting is gonna be
Yeah.
for Tyler and I both, and it's gonna be, why come?
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like you would like to try and get another meeting in before the 28th?
Not really.
Well, I'm saying we could address everything before the 28th and then hopefully finalize things on the 28th.
Can we do the
Can we
lap
go to-
thing too?
What?
Can we do the lap thing too?
On it, like, before the 28th?
Yeah,
If you feel that that would give you enough time with the additional information they shared with you.
we need Tyler.
I would, would that give you enough time?
That's what I was gonna ask too, because that was a whole list of things
That was a, big
that they
list.
were gonna have to.
And I would think there's probably gonna be more to add to that.
Sure.
Well, I already have part of a list for your conditions and commitments typed up a little bit on, like, I know it's inevitably your decision, but it's also my job. And so, like, the road use agreement and those items that I had mentioned a couple times, I'm very strongly on paying the violations, very strong on making sure there's a deadline for ceasing operation, like Megan said, from decommissioning on it, making sure that if you wanted voluntary IDEM inspections with county involved in it. They'll obviously need to get permits for the additional work. I want DHS to be part of any structures there. I would like to see them, even if it's a matter of them getting waivers, I still want Homeland Security to boots to the ground there on that property.
Stamp on it.
So if you want me to compare for dates before the 28th, let me look at our calendar for this room, and then I will email you, like we do when we email what dates are free.
Works for me.
Yep. I motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I second.
You guys did me in a second. Weird.
Oh,
Is there no public comment then for solar? Or any BESS?
Uh,
it's up to you guys.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, it's
After you amended it, you didn't remove public comment from your agenda.
We had a lot of public comment, but I felt like. Okay, come on up. We'd love to hear from you. We're unadjourned.
We're adjourned.
I'll make this quick. I want you to know why you're up here and why you're doing this. It's for people like me. My name is Kathy Wyatt. I'm from Franklin Township. After all the solar panels go up, I'm less than half a mile away. I'm already grieving not being able to see the stars at night because of the security lights that will be close enough that will block that. I also have property that is surrounded on 3 sides by solar. The other side has a business up against it. We are in the fight. You are the only committee I feel like I can say anything to and get heard. And for our mental health, I thank you very much. You listen, and I can't tell you how grateful I am. When you started setting forth some parameters for changes to the solar ordinances, you talked about having a cutoff percentage of acreages. They have now said that they passed another 8,800 acres that are now contracted to more Mammoth Solar pasture acres. We are now over 15.3% acres of our tillable farmland going to solar. I'm going to ask you guys, draw a line in the sand, please. We don't have any help out here. You're also out here because there are starting to be court cases where they are taking commissioners to court. They are listed on being sued because they had committees that made recommendations. They didn't listen to them. They had public comment from people. They didn't listen to them. There's around 60 landowners involved with solar contracts. There's a whole lot more people like me out there. And we need you so desperately. So if you could please consider, we cannot be an industrial county. I cannot imagine not hearing the cicadas at night. I just cannot imagine that. We are facing challenges as farmers. I don't know what it's going to be like with 3 sides that are solar. There are invasive weeds in this county. If they come over into our cropland, it's an extra $50 an acre to spray for those rascals. We can't afford that. We're going to fight that. We also have an unprecedented amount of damage done by wildlife this year. The deer have taken so much of our corn and our bean crops because they are being displaced. I called the deer expert down in Indianapolis. He said it will be years before that levels off, and we will keep receiving the deer damage. With solar on 3 sides, our field will be lit beautifully, so the deer can come in there at night and eat even more. We've got to have help, common sense help. So I am asking you, please look at Pulaski County, decide we need to not put our eggs in one basket. We need to draw a line in the sand. Everything I've read on BESS scares me to death. I hear channel 16 and 22. They're fighting it because nobody is keeping the sound ordinances. They've got 1,400 complaints against the one BESS facility. We don't want to even start in on that. Plus all the health things from this. You guys are here and you do this because of people like me. Thank you very much for your time.
So that's why you're on this board. Thank you.
give you a different perspective on it. I was on the board with Carla, when we went through the windmill project. And, it got tabled. And Carla come to the board, just like I heard her asking about the batteries. And she come to the board and she said, we got a problem, and the problem is with solar. Because the county did not have any solar ordinance. And she said, the problem is, if they wanted to, if you had a fly-by-night company, they would come in and start setting up solar, and there's no county ordinance. And you have no rebuttal. You can't do anything about it. So we did set up a solar ordinance. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or anything. We set up something at the time because there wasn't very many solars. But, so when I hear her talking about batteries, even though it doesn't get changed today, if something is wrote up, there's something there to do something with at some point in time. Someone may modify it. You won't be on the board forever. What is it, six years and you're done? Something like that. I don't remember what it is. But somebody has to make up stuff and somebody has to spend their time doing it. And I did it at one time, so. Merry Christmas. Thank you. I just encourage you, that's all I'm giving.
Thank you.
Excellent.
John Craig, Loehmer Ag. Hear what Catherine said, and yeah, I get it. I feel defeated about every time that they vote down anything you guys try to do. It's very disheartening, but that's why you guys are here. We appreciate it. She's right. You guys actually listen with an open mind. And there's hardly any yelling and screaming in any of these, and it's refreshing. Also, with all the information, with all the extra stuff that you had, is that going to be available to public per se? Okay.
Yeah, I actually, the building department has a Facebook page, but we have been so busy, it's been difficult to get things put on it. So I was thinking that I'll try and get that scanned in and put on the site and then have it linked to the county page. And I guess I had a list of some items where information came from, like different counties and different states.
But like I said, with that one, but you had to have.
Yep, no, absolutely, yep,
Okay,
yep.
awesome. No, like I said, you guys do your best. I get it. Sometimes you feel like you're just up against the wall. I get it. We're all there. We're all just. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I promise I'm gonna be quick. I know it's frustrating, but we need you. That's what it boils down to. We need you, our future generations need you, we need you to continue trying to protect the people of Pulaski County. So when I approached the commissioners recently at a session and I asked what could happen next, I was told by Commissioner Street he would look to the APC for you to come back. I specifically asked about the solar ordinances because I said I was very disappointed that there wasn't a counter, that it all just got shut down. I was shocked by it, frankly. And he said it's up to the APC to bring things back. That is directly from Mr. Street. And I know, I get it, but he put the ball back in your court. So I'm asking empathetically for things like maybe the solar cap to be, like maybe chunk it into smaller things and only take a few things at a time. Maybe the cap or the property rights guarantee or the health, safety, and environmental impacts. We do keep hearing about farmers suffering damage due to the displacement of wildlife. You are our front line of defense on this, and I'm just gonna ask you to please not give up trying to protect. We know we've had challenges that have not yet even been close to being mitigated, and it's still coming in. And if there's anything that the community can do to help in terms of research or resources, there is a group of us who are willing to do so. And I do hope that you pursue the agreement and offer at one point that the Commissioner made, that if you need help from a third-party resource to do this, because as we all know, at least I'm for sure not a subject matter expert in any of this, but if there's an unbiased, unaffiliated third-party resource that doesn't have a connection to a solar company or battery company that could help you with these things, whether it be the battery, the data, or the solar projects, please take them up on that and pursue it. And if you need additional funds for your attorney to help in things, push back and ask on it, because if we just sit idle, we're going to be in an even worse space moving forward. I'm just asking for protections, and you will have first line of defense. Thank you.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, like, we can't modify the solar for 12 months, right?
Right.
After that.
Right. Not till April.
So him saying that we,
And Commissioner said you could come back with different recommendations. You can't take to them the same ones, but what I was told is you can take to them new recommendations.
You can tweak it, change the wording, and so.
How many times have we took it 3, right?
I don't know, but I was under the impression that
I've
that
heard too many
specific
things.
section, we
Right.
couldn't.
So that's what I asked, that's what I was asking about in my opportunity. I'm not legal counsel, but with the tweak what you said, you can't take it the same. But let's use the setbacks, for example, where I would probably would have countered with you, like, okay, we think this is too much, how about this? And negotiated it, and it was just said no. I think you can go back to them with a different amount, say on the cap with setbacks.
You can't discuss those topics, whatever was discussed. You can't. So the sections that you didn't change, if you wanted to bring those to them, you can, like.
But the big ones that we already
The ones
need.
that we
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
have already been said no to.
Did your counsel respond on that? Because Ayler is the one who told me he thought you could bring it back.
That might be a problem.
Yeah,
And again, I don't know, I'm just taking what the commissioner and council said. I don't.
and the only thing I'd like to add, kind of on the lines that Brandon's talking about, is the commissioners dropped the ball. They were supposed to come back to you with their recommended changes. They didn't do that. So, they've dropped the ball big time on that one, and I don't know if there's a way they can go back and ask for them to, where are your recommended changes? Why did you deny all these changes? They owe you explanation, they really do. And then the other thing I was just gonna say, that I know it's frustrating. I know how many hours you put in. It's appreciated by the community, as what you've heard tonight. But I also think you had an impact. You also raised awareness to the community of people who are not listening, who are either on a different agenda. And I think you had an impact on the election, that we had the primary. And I think you're gonna have an impact on the general election as well. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing your jobs. Appreciate it. Good night.
Anyone else?
I have thoughts about the same thing. Just keep up the good work, and you're there for us. You're appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you all. Staying to the bitter end. Can I have a motion?
A second.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
I thought you were gonna say something. Oh my God.
Yeah.